has been at left guard in San Francisco?
Yeah, no, we've had plenty of conversations with Elton leading up to it, and obviously, he played center in college. We feel he's got a chance to be an all-pro center. You guys, we've talked about a lot how versatility plays into our offensive line, and having guys that can move to different spots, and Elton's one of those guys that can play all 5 spots. So he's a luxury, but I think I'm excited to see what he can do at center as well.
Brian, when it was a couple of years ago when you did that contract, I remember at the time it was going to be adaptable. He would be paid if he was a tackle, paid if he was a guard. They've come to you and asked for any adjustments to maybe do something contractual wise now that he's going to make the move.
Yeah, I would never talk about any conversations we have with any of our players on contracts and things like that. But obviously, he's one of the higher paid guys in the league for a reason, because he's a really good player. And I think moving to center for him was something he always kind of thought about in his career at some point. We're excited to see what he can do for us.
So he may didn't fight back or push back and anything there.
Brian, what's the plan for Jair Alexander in your roster this season? What's
Say
the
it
plan
again.
for Jair Alexander?
Jair? I think we're still working through that. Obviously, a very, very good player for us, and we have some time here to kind of figure that out and see what's best for him and for the organization.
Is there a possibility that he plays for you in 2025?
It could be a possibility, absolutely. But again, I think we're in the middle of that right now. So,
Brian, do you think whatever way you go with that, it'll be resolved by the draft time?
I think that would be nice, but I don't think you can say that for sure. But I think that would be helpful.
Is extending Zach Tom a priority this offseason?
I think that certainly we'll get into those discussions probably later this summer, and with those players that are going into their 4th year.
What does Rasheed Walker still need to show you to be worth extending there?
Oh, I think Rasheed's done a lot of really, really good things for us. I don't think he necessarily needs to show me anything. I think, like anything, you got to continue to play at a high level. We're going to have a lot of competition there. Not just at his spot, but all across the offensive line. And, we got guys like Jordan Morgan here that I think are going to really emerge. So it'll be good to see that competition, and we'll be better for it.
Are you going to play? Is Morgan going to get a shot at left tackle this year?
Yeah, I think it's just like last year. He'll take reps at multiple spots, but he'll certainly get a shot there.
Brent, with Aaron Banks coming in now at left guard, what did you like about him? What do you think as far, now with Elton being at center, how does he sit in that?
Yeah, obviously, a really large man that can do all the things that Matt asked those guys to do in our scheme, as far as his ability to get off the ball quickly, get out in space, and really run. This isn't a 295-pound man. This is a 330-pound man. So his ability to play physical in the run game and anchor down in the pass pro, I think, was something that really he's played at a high level for a few years now, and to get a guy like that really in the prime of his career was something I thought was really going to benefit us.
Sounds like people have raved about his run blocking ability. Do you think, with all moving Elton and all that, do you think you're a better run blocking unit, and can that be even a bigger fullback?
Yeah, certainly we have the potential to be. At the same time, you guys, those 5 guys got to work in concert, and there's a lot of work that has to be done before you ever get to that point. So every year is a different year. These guys got to put in the work and really come together as a unit. But I think we have the potential to be that.
Brian, I think a lot of people expected you guys to trade for everybody and sign a lot of top people when you made the urgency comment. What was kind of your approach to free agency, and did you maybe have some bigger things in place that you didn't get done, or how would you categorize how you guys approached that period?
Yeah, I mean, I think the urgency comment is really more, for our team, our organization, to understand what the expectations are. At the same time, for us, I think we were very urgent in free agency. Obviously we went after a couple, top targets. We were able to acquire them. I think it really is going to help our football team. Yeah, I think the urgency comment is across the board. I think it's for our players, it's for our organization, and just how we're going to approach things.
Along those lines, in the past, when you had money and needs, you've spent. This year, not saying you didn't.
Yeah, I think we're like 10th in the league in spending.
But this year with free agency, you signed a couple guys, but if you'd wanted to, you could have done more. You had the cap room to do more. There were all sorts of pass rushers of different stripes and prices available. What made you decide to do it the way you did it?
Well, I think we every free agent class is different. You have to be honest with yourselves about what it is. You can't just go chasing after things and trying to create stuff. We very much felt that kind of the targets that we targeted were the ones worth targeting. And again, I think we were 10th in the league in free agency spending this offseason, something like that. And so I thought we were very aggressive, and we were able to acquire guys pretty early in the process. But every year is unique with the free agency class, and I think it's just a matter of how you evaluate that.
When you say 10th in spending, I hadn't seen that number. Is that just cash spent this year, or is that average contract?
I think it's cash. Yeah.
Ryan,
It changes daily because it's still going on.
Right.
With McCole Hardman, you said at the combine you wanted multiple options to return kicks. Do you see him as a guy that can maybe take some of that burden off Keyshawn if he's playing outside corner?
I do, absolutely. I think both as a punt returner and a kick returner. He's a little bit more experienced in the punt return game than the kick return game, but he can do both. He obviously adds an element of speed to our football team. So he's been in big games and played well in big games. So he's had a little bit of he's been hampered by some injuries along the way, but I think when he's healthy, he's certainly he's an impactful player.
Brian, what's been your involvement personally from the organizational standpoint in the Tush Push thing, and where do you?
Yeah, it really wasn't a huge part of drafting the proposal or anything like that, but I'm very much in support of it. I think certainly the medical professionals at the league have high concerns about putting players in positions that could lead to catastrophic injuries. And I think this is something that needs to be discussed, and we need to be proactive rather than reactive on that.
Is the Tucker Craft play, would that fall into the same category though, or is that somehow?
Yeah, it's really any play where a player is getting pushed from behind initially like that. So yes.
That play was successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we owe it to our players. It's not about success; it's about health and safety here.
Gotcha.
Brian, I know you don't like to talk about players not in the roster. DK Metcalf was available for trade this year. Ultimately went to the Steelers. It seemed like you guys doubled down on the run game, bringing Tanks in. With the pendulum kind of swinging toward the run game, running backs last season, do you think that's a viable identity for a championship-winning offense to really operate through the run game? Yeah,
well, I think it is, but I also think we need to be the kind of football team that can do what we need to do whenever we need to do it. Whether that's running the ball, throwing the ball. So I don't think it wasn't something that we just say, hey, we sought out just to be a run-first team. I think certainly the acquisitions that we made in Aaron was about both.
What do you think you have with Hopper?
I think obviously he didn't get as many opportunities as he probably would have liked, but I think certainly that will come. Certainly he did a really good job for us in the opportunities that he had on special teams. And I thought in practice, throughout the year, he continued to develop, and every time he got an opportunity, whether it was in preseason or towards the end of the year, I thought he produced and showed what we're looking for.
So along those lines, you've talked about possibly at least extending Walker, Quay Walker. Is there room on the roster for all of that when you're generally playing two of those guys more than three, and you've already got Cooper also, you got Hopper coming up?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, first of all, I think we played three linebackers more this past year than I expected us to. And I also think, Jeff's second year, some of the creative thoughts he may have is playing multiple linebackers. So yes, I think if there was anything coming out of this past year was that we maybe need more bodies than we had last year to begin with. At the end of the year, we got a little thin there. So I think there's room for all those guys.
Is Hopper's best spot in the middle?
Yeah, I look at those guys as interchangeable. I think that both those inside guys as interchangeable. Certainly when we go, our old school base where we have three guys on the field, that Sam linebacker is a little bit different. But I think the majority of the time we have two guys out there, I think those two spots are interchangeable.
Brian, do you guys still have a local pro day before the draft? Is there...
We do. It's we don't work guys out anymore. We bring so the way that the league changed the rules a few years ago, where we have three schools that are under our umbrella, we bring those guys up. We sit down with them, not only with us but with our coaches, and put them through some medical things and some getting to know them. But it's to put them on the grass and actually move them around. We don't do that
so
anymore.
Are the three schools all BX schools?
Or? No. It's Wisconsin. It's Wisconsin, Northern Illinois, and Northwestern.
So like for a team like Dallas, for example, there's a million prospects in Dallas. Like, do you think have an advantage? In
Yeah,
that
I mean,
sense?
it's always been a little bit of a disadvantage because whether you're Miami, or maybe LA or Dallas, where you have, a bunch of pro prospects that come from your metropolitan area and the ability to basically get a free 30 visit out of that. So it's always been a little bit of a disadvantage, not selling anything short of Green Bay and the metropolitan area there. But at the same time, I don't know if it's that big a deal.
Ryan, what are you expecting year 2 in this 4-3 defense? How big of a historically jump the teams that are long staying 3-4 making that second year?
Yeah, I hope a big one. I thought they took a big jump during the season last year. I thought by the end of the year we were playing some really good football on defense, and so I'm excited to see what year 2 brings. Not only with our players, but just with what Jeff was out of the league for a little bit, and for his ability to adjust in season. Now having a full off season, not only to know our players better, the league a little bit better. I'm excited to see what we can do on defense.
You haven't addressed the pass rush this spring yet. Can you do everything you need to through the draft to get that pass rush to the level it needs to be?
I think we can do everything we need to do through the players we have on our roster right now, because I think there's a significant amount of improvement for those guys, not only in year 2 of a scheme, but just I think individually as well. So we've invested in that quite a bit already, and I'm excited to see the growth that those guys will have. If the draft happens to bring us, some more ammunition in that category, great. But I don't think it's something that's necessarily we have to go chase.
Do you think it was just the transition, whatever was lacking last season with the pass rush at times, just the transition schematically?
I think that again, we had some pretty good moments in pass rush last year. It just wasn't consistent enough. I think when you've shown it and the ability to be, to pass rush at a high level, you can do it, right? So it's just a matter at that point of being able to do it week in and week out.
Brandon, I know you mentioned at Indy how important it was to get Brandon back, but I mean, what kind of peace of mind does that provide now as far as kicker having him?
Yeah, again, I think for the short period of time we had him, he just really, I think he kind of, the veteran presence there, I think, was something that you could tell from day one, his ability to kind of not blink at whatever conditions. Sometimes our conditions on our practice field probably are tougher than anything anybody's going to see during a game, and his ability to handle those on a day in and day out basis really gives us a lot of comfort.
You've had a lot of time to digest last season now. What do you think happened at receiver? Do you think any complacency set in last year after how strong they finished the year before?
I don't think so. I think it's just a little bit. It was our offense in general was a little bit, inconsistent at times in the passing game. But we worked through some injuries as well, which always affects that. But again, these guys are they're very experienced players now, but they're entering kind of that third year where you usually see these guys get into a comfort zone where their ability, really comes out. So I think hopefully we can stay healthy in there and see what those guys give us this year.
And you got Watson coming off the ACL. We all know it's a long recovery. It seems like every time a guy comes back, it's the second year after is the year where he's himself. So that's a speed guy right there. Is that still a big need for you? Do you feel like you need to add a really dynamic element to that position?
I think, again, we brought in Cole, and I think obviously he's got a lot of speed. I think certainly Jaden fits that bill as well. Luke Musgrave, I think it's a guy, if we can consistently keep out on the field, provides a speed element that can stretch the defense. So I think we have that ability, even without Christian. Christian's a pretty dynamic guy. There's not many guys like him in our league. So when he's out there, it certainly changes things. And getting him healthy, down the stretch, I think will be a really important part of that. But I do think we can handle that as we are.
Do you really think you can? Do you have to look at anything he gives you as a bonus? Because he won't be back until sometime in November. You've got to get in game shape after that. Or are you counting on him to be helping you by December?
Yeah. I wouldn't count him out, you know what I mean? Just because I know his work ethic and how he approaches things. It won't shock me at all if he's a big factor for us this season. But at the same time, as you said, these are big injuries, and I think we have to make sure that we're protected in case that doesn't happen.
Right, forgive the off-the-wall nature of this question, but there's push or talk by the league and players about playing flag football in the Summer Olympics. How could that work given training?
Yeah, that's a GM nightmare. It's a little bit like the old Pro Bowl when they were playing in those games, right? You're holding your breath the entire time. At the same time, I think flag football is going to be such an important part of the growth of football. we've talked a lot about here, the growth in the women's game. I would love to start to see, high schools in Wisconsin and across the U.S. have these teams as varsity sports. I have 3 daughters. I have my youngest daughter's in 8th grade. She's a fabulous flag football player. She can really run, and right now there's just not a lot of opportunities for those as they get into high school. So, so I think overall it's a great thing. I'd love it if we kept the NFL players out of it, if that was ever possible, just because, again, I think your best players, if they were playing in that game, I think that would be, any of your players, quite frankly, the risk that is. But at the same time, I think it is good for the overall game.
What made McDuffie worth that investment?
I think Isaiah, from the day we have had Isaiah, he's done everything that we would ask for him as far as the way he handles himself. He's been an elite special teams player from the beginning. Certainly started a lot of games at linebacker for us. So I just thought, as we were talking to him, that made a lot of sense to bring him back. He's just a glue guy, does everything the right way. And again, when you have a player of his caliber, who's been an elite teams player and really performed very well every time you put him on the field on defense, it just made sense.
Speaking of bringing players back, was re-signing Brandon one of the easier decisions you've had to make given his season last season?
Yeah, I think what we went through at kicker last year, and then having him come in and handle it the way he did, again, just made us, I think where our team is right now, that made a lot of sense to us.
What'd you think about bringing Christian back, Welch, too?
Yeah.
Kind of get him back in the fold. I know after the preseason he put together last year.
Right, yeah, no, obviously, Christian's played a lot of football in this league, and he's still a very young player, I think still an ascending player. I thought he did a lot of really good things for us last year. We were kind of hoping to keep him around, and so kind of as that possibility came about, again, made a lot of sense for us.
Brian, one more on Jair. When it comes out that you guys are open to trading him at the combine, but then you also leave the option open of him coming back, do you have to have a conversation with him just to let him know where you are? This was your first draft pick. It's not any old player.
Yeah, no, so John Thornton's his agent. We talk weekly about these things and working together on finding the best solution for everybody. Obviously, we invested a lot in Jair, and we want to make sure that if he's not going to be on our football team helping us win games, that we get something back for that investment. So we'll see where it goes. But again, working with him weekly and trying to figure out what's best for both Jair and the Packers.